Professionally delivers top quality products and exceptional service. Located in Sand Hill in Kingstown, we are open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And on Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. We supply animal feed, dog and cat food, animal supplements, a wide range of floral supplies, nursery pots, ground cover and shade cloth, and much more. We also stock a wide range of motor vehicle supplies, including automotive oils, filters for all vehicles, engine coolants, and much more. Email us today at cobano_1@hotmail.com or call us today 451-2911 or 493-7175. Cobano Limited, professional, top quality, and exceptional service.
WEFM, the clean, fresh sound.
WhatsApp us or call us at 457-9997. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
Alrighty, so we are back with you, Tamara and SVG. It is 8:53, and it is now time for a commentary with Doc. Doc,
yes.
What's on the agenda today?
Well, January 15th, 1929 was Martin Luther King's birthday. And strange enough, his birthday was observed for the first time on January 20th. And so today, we celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday. It should be noted that April the 4th, 2026 of this year will be the 68th anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King's junior assassination. His life has so many inspirational quotes to help us remember the power of his vision and what he gave us in terms of his courage to act upon our own dreams, our courage to act upon our own dreams. He had quotes on love and hate. Like, I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. He also said love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. But some of his most impactful quotes: our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. That one day this nation will rise up, live up to the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I'll go on a little bit because it's important. Faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the whole staircase. Only in darkness can you see the stairs. There comes a time when silence is betrayal. He goes on, our lives begin and end the day we become silent about things that matter. And in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemy, but the silence of our friends. And he said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Lastly, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Why I brought this up in my end? I have wondered in those days, if anybody knows about Attila the Hun and the Mongol hordes, as they came through different countries, different villages, they burnt villages, they killed everybody, and so forth. It's amazing what conquering was done in the name of conquering in past decades. The British said they ruled the waves. They came to the Caribbean. We literally had a Holocaust in relation to our Carib peoples who basically were banished to Rotan and then so forth. And there's so many ills that have taken place over the world. And so why I brought this up is that today we are seeing and we are poised again for some great powers whose eyes are on Greenland, on Panama, on Mexico, Canada, and they've taken so-called Venezuela as being in their sphere that they must rule. Are persons going to be silent? You know? Are persons going to stand back? Are persons, in the words of Martin Luther King, going to stay in the darkness? When will we see the stairs? And so anyone who shouts aloud, they can be compromised by the mighty powers. I wanted to stop there, and that's my commentary this morning.
Is this in a local context, regionally or internationally?
You know something? It depends on how you take it. Martin Luther King, as I'm a person of color, he inspires me, so I start with that. And his reach was not just in the United States, but around the world. He won a Nobel Peace Prize. But I ended talking about the great conquerors of the world, the Mongol hordes and the Attila the Hun and the British, you know, who came down to the Caribbean and basically what they did in relation to our paramount chief Châteauguay, the Caribs and so forth and that. And the enslavement of people, I didn't really bring up in detail as a whole subject in itself. I am saying that in these modern times, we have to look at history and look at it. So it's not just in a local context, but certainly from a regional point of view, our leaders, right? They have to look and be very circumspect as regards whether they cower and they pull a sheet over their head to hide, or whether and stay in the darkness, or whether they're able to see the light.
And what would you say to persons who might say, well, in the context of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, or even with the context of the Caribbean, let's start with the OECS, that we don't have that much might and we don't have that much power? What would you say to it?
So therefore, if there is someone who wants to come and take over St. Lucia, nice. We want St. Lucia. We love the beaches of St. Lucia. They got better beaches than St. Vincent. We want St. Lucia. We're coming down for it. What do? Do we cower? Do we say it's okay? Because we don't have the might. I'm saying that the villages that had to face the Mongols and Attila the Hun and the Persians and so forth, and we go back in history, and many people might identify with it. You have to keep not just an eye on things and run, you know? As Martin said, you got to keep moving. You got to keep moving forward, right? And my message today is not geared at hitting at anything. It's to just inspire you to start to think about this process and answer the same questions you're asking Roleza. Roleza, what are you looking for into the mirror? And ask yourself that question. Ask yourself that question.
Yeah, but I could be asking myself this question, but let's look at it from the standpoint of, let's say, leaders within country or even within regionally.
Leaders will lead, and leaders will lead people. People have to speak out as well, and leaders usually catch on to what the people are saying. But
you want to identify something very specific that you think that we should be speaking on, because I know you spoke broadly, right? But we have to recognize that there are various things or many things happening, even regionally and internationally.
It's the way I ended. It's the way I ended. I said that great powers, like in the past, who say, they say, we need these sugar islands.
Right.
We must have said, in the great powers say, we need Greenland. We need a Panama Canal. We need the oil from Venezuela. We need this stuff. I'm saying that, looking to say it doesn't affect us. I'm saying to you that as these conflicts break out, as things break out and prices start to inflate and we start having crises and shipping gets delayed and goods and so forth, prices increase, we have to look at these things. So I can't say something specific in relation to what is, but I'm opening up people's eyes to what is taking place, and they will reflect on it themselves. My opinion is immaterial. It is what conviction. Martin Luther King asks is, what conviction do you have? Looking in front of the mirror and asking those same questions.
But do you think that the personalities of leaders like Martin Luther King and even supporters, do you think that we still have persons like that? And I'm going to make reference, right? Because I don't really like talking in abstract. Back then, we would recognize that when persons were upset or unhappy that with a particular stance, a particular point of view, something that happened from a governmental position, that there were protests, right? I have always said that I've always believed that the protest generation died with my parents. Us as young people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we recognize that places like Martinique, etc., some of those French dependencies, they have protests and they're very effective, right? Effective. But in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we don't necessarily do protests, right? We don't necessarily do that whole, I am standing my ground, stand in my position, I am going to let my voice be heard. We don't have that. So do you think that maybe that there has been a changing of times with regards to how persons address certain matters? You're talking about Attila the Hun and all of that. Remember back then, or even invasion of territories, there was a face-to-face combat, right? In terms of defending their territory, etc. We don't necessarily have to do that, because now what we have in terms of our challenges would be economic pressures.
Yes.
How do we combat that? We're no longer fighting off the British trying to invade SVG in a physical context. But if the economic pressure is going to come down to the citizens of the country, what do you think our leaders are going to do? Are they going to succumb to the pressure because they still have to find a way to look out for the citizens? Or you want for them to stand collectively and then the citizens still get upset?
You're right, but you see, but history would tell us those persons who succumb to becoming enslaved or to lose whatever dignity they have to go along with it, that gets prolonged. So,
and that's why I brought up the change of personality in terms of protesting. Protesting for me has died with the generation before me.
I don't think it has done.
I don't
think it has done. Look at Pops just talking there. And what the criticism is, you criticize
and look at how
him.
many men were standing behind him.
No, but that's all he needs. Why?
All right, I don't want to use that as an example. That's probably not the best example because he did not call people out.
I'm not saying.
I don't want to use that as an example.
I'm not saying he represents 300 taxi persons, but you're there. They're the 300 taxi persons. You don't have to have everybody behind you, and if you lose one or two, therefore you fail. That ain't the issue. The visuals is the content of what he's saying. I am saying that people do basically speak out. I think people want to basically speak out instead of rioting, instead of other things like that.
I wouldn't go to as far as rioting.
But I'm saying those are other things that don't often take place. But you can speak out, and I think that today social media, right? When you talk about social being able to speak out, the protests. When somebody says something and they get 10,000 views, do you know Pops's comment? I was looking at 27,000 views to it when you had sent it to me. I'm sure it's a lot more. So the reach today of speaking out can be very, very profound. Now, some people criticize you back and they could have 2,000 views as well. But I'm saying you are wrong. Yeah, you're wrong, Roleza, in saying people ain't speaking out.
But no. Hold on.
I think people have the great ability now to speak out in a different way, in a different language, that of social media.
All right. So views don't necessarily translate to action, huh? Because you have 20-something thousand people looking at a thing, and it's not necessarily going to equate to action. And I don't even want to use the example.
I was answering your question as regards people speaking out. I am saying that.
But I am talking about protests to effect change. That's what I'm talking about.
I am saying
letting your voices be heard, especially in mass, so that there can be effective change. Now, I recognize that, Kojo, you're saying something here, and I'm actually in agreement with this, right? That young people did their protests, in the past election as a form of silent protest. And I can understand and appreciate that in that many young people may not necessarily take to the streets anymore, or people may not necessarily take to the streets anymore, but they do protest in subtle ways.
But and he's right and you're right in that it may not have been a silent protest. It was on social media. They were commenting, and you saw the views. And don't be mistaken by the views. The views that don't always mean anything, but it shows sometimes how things are resonating. You know, don't take that the wrong way, Roleza. You know. That young people are speaking up more. They're speaking up more in a wide variety of things. When in the past, how would you speak up? You need a microphone, or you get a few guys and walk down the road with a placard. There are different methods now, modern methods.
I agree, Doc.
You agree? No, I don't think you agree.
I agree, but what it is
when
that
you're trying to be devil's advocate.
What it is that I'm no, not even trying to be devil's advocate. What I'm saying is that we can be speaking out, yes, but is it always us effecting change? We see it happening sometimes, right?
Not always.
But in terms of there actually being, because going viral and sharing your point or sharing your point of view doesn't necessarily bring about change.
I agree with you. Like this morning, we could have been talking more about the content of what Pops was saying, but we had a distraction. Pops himself. Let's demean Pops. Let's demean Maka as a taxi driver. Let's demean Thompson. Let's do that. That distraction is common. We do this a lot. However, guess what? The content of what Pops was saying often pushes through. Sometimes it doesn't, but often the force of it pushes through still. And that happens on many occasions. Sometimes it's drowned by the person who want to drown it and shift the topic and get the personal attack on somebody. That sometimes wins.
All right, so to summarize what you were saying this morning, right?
Yeah. So you want to summarize what I'm saying. You want to summarize. Ask me to summarize.
Summarizing what you're saying, right? Yes, with all of this current world events that are happening and Trump threatening this and Trump not just threatening but actually doing things, right? Yeah. What is it a case where you think that all world leaders need to stand their ground a little better? Let's actually get to the direct message. Is that what you're saying? 3 words. I hope so. Okay. I hope so. So that was what you wanted to say. I hope so. Martin Luther King is dead, but his inspirations live on. And I am using those to say that whether in our personal lives, and remember what you said in terms of people's dreams, people's own dreams, not just his dream, I have a dream, but in terms of your own dream, whether small or large, that these things can have an impact, not just from him alone. There are other people, your mother, your father, your uncle can also inspire you. But the world is being threatened, not so much by Attila the Hun and the Mongols and the Persian, coming down and they will kill everybody. I am saying that we have to watch these particular dangers and let us not cower. Let's not pull, the wool over our eyes. Let's not be individualistic as well. And let's not be individualistic. Let's not be individualistic. We need to see this for what it is, because it could be the Panama Canal, it could be Greenland, it could be oil in this place, it could be somewhere else, it could be Anguilla. We want Anguilla. We want St. Lucia. Grenada, we want back Grenada. We helped Grenada before. We want it back. And I'm saying that sort of power, because somebody feels powerful, that bullying, I've got to say, we've all experienced it in the playground. Roleza, were you a bully or you were bullied?
Yes, I don't
I'm
know.
actually trying to think.
I don't know. Maka.
She's a bully. She's a bully.
I am not.
I was not a bully. I was not a bully. I believed in some of Martin Luther King about love and so forth. That's why I brought those quotes up. And I'm hoping that people see I'm the wrong messenger because it's easy to say, man, a damn Thompson, where you attack and so forth. He 10 years ago this and 15 years ago that and the other thing. And the message I'm trying to is not a personal message, and I'm trying to,
No, I totally
me and so forth. And you have to be devil's advocate. I
totally get your message, right? I totally understand.
I'm sure.
No, but I mean, my whole thing is always not because you're small means that you can't effect change or you can't bring about change. And even in our local context, whether locally here in St. Vincent the Grenadines or us within the region, we have to find a way to stand our ground so that we are not influenced and not intimidated and not bullied. I do agree with that. But when I brought up the point of being individualistic, I'm here thinking about Trinidad and Tobago, right? But we do have to find a way to stand collectively. But it's also going to be the concerns or the implications that's going to happen as well from an economic standpoint, right? That's all. Yeah? Yeah? All right, Doctor shaking your head. Listen, people, anyway.
Nobody can say shaking your head. Well, yeah, if you're on the line.
I spoke quite a lot of stuff. Roleza had the last word because she controls the dials.
Oh gosh, don't make it sound so.
And there was very little more that I need to say. I'm not going to counter what she says and get one up. I agree with her last comment. Along the way, it took some time for her to reach those last comments. I thought she was waffling, and she was whether she was trying to be devil's advocate.
It's about
to pull
seeing
out,
things from
to
another
pull out,
side.
to push the other side just for the sake of pushing the other side, but you don't believe in the other side. I am talking a commentary, a conviction. You can't talk two sides of your mouth. You talk on your left side, you talk your right side, you say two different things and hope that one of them sticks. It has to be a conviction.
Yeah, but it would be interesting to see what happens. We have to
observe, and we have to rally. And as people, our leaders often listen to us sometimes. Often listen to us. And our views expressed, whether on social media, which is a powerful tool, or whether we go out and walk the street and protest. Basically, I don't advocate that. I think social media and so forth basically helps and works and so. And guess what? This commentary this morning, people will see it and they will listen to it. And that's part of social media. It's going to be there from now to time immemorial. And people will know that on Martin Luther King's Day, January 20th, Maka, Gerald, and finally, Roleza stood up and was counted. You know what I mean?
Dr. Beckwell is a smiley boy.
Listen, I'm going on to this segment, yes?
Well, you see, just now, which people saying people can't see you nodding your head. I hope they could see Roleza smile.
All right, folks. So with that, we have come to the end of this commentary segment. We are over, but that generally happens on a Monday, right? So we are going to head on out and bring to you today's ECCB currency exchange rates.
Nothing else sounds as good as WEFM.